is what the WNBA standings look like right now. 7 of the top 8 teams have clinched their playoff.
In the bottom half, I think that Indiana is a problem.
Could be a team overseas who would love to snatch Caitlin Clark.
ESPN just dropped what could be one of the most ridiculous predictions we've seen in WNBA history. And this time, it's about none other than the Indiana Fever, a team that's been clawing its way back from irrelevance. According to ESPN, this franchise, which made its biggest leap in years with Caitlin Clark at the helm, is headed for a massive flop in 2025. And you already know what's happening now.
And the way that they are playing as of late, when you look at the numbers of what Caitlin Clark...
Fever fans are going ballistic. After everything this team has accomplished, ESPN's latest prediction feels like a slap in the face. Fans are outraged, confused, and more than a little suspicious of the motives behind this bold claim. But before we dive into why this prediction is so infuriating, let's break down how the Fever have proven everyone wrong over the past few seasons.
Caitlin, what value do you feel like you and this team got out of the playoff experience?
It's going to drive you through the offseason. How's it going to make you work? You got a taste of getting to the playoffs.
It wasn't that long ago that Indiana was considered one of the worst teams in the league, struggling to even make a dent in the standings. They hadn't seen the playoffs in years, and fans were starting to lose hope. But then, in 2024, something magical happened. Caitlin Clark arrived. Not just arrived, she dominated.
While Caitlin is fantastic, and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA.
The number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft didn't just live up to the hype. She exceeded it, becoming the league's most electrifying rookie and single-handedly dragging the Fever back into the playoff picture.
Clark-Boston connection, those two have been the second best scoring duo in the league behind Asia Wilson and Jackie Young.
Now, you'd think ESPN would have taken all this into account when predicting the Fever's 2025 season, right? Wrong. According to ESPN, Indiana isn't going to capitalize on their momentum from 2024. Instead, they're going to crash and burn, potentially missing the playoffs altogether. Let's be real for a second. What? After watching Caitlin Clark put up record-breaking numbers, fill arenas, and bring national attention back to the Fever,
has done her improvement in how she has adjusted to the speed of the game.
The reason there's almost 10,000 people here.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
How could anyone in their right mind believe this team is about to fall apart? Well, ESPN sure does, and we're about to dissect why their prediction is so laughably wrong. First things first, the numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark was an absolute monster in 2024. She averaged 19.2 points per game, a league-best 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds, which isn't even the full story. After the Paris Olympics break, Clark came back even stronger, scoring 23.1 points per game, while shooting an impressive 43.5% from the field. She basically carried the team on her back.
Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
Indiana's roster might have its flaws, but let's not forget that Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell also played pivotal roles in turning this team around. Boston was a defensive powerhouse, and Mitchell had her best season yet, proving she's still got plenty left in the tank. But despite all this, ESPN wants us to believe that the Fever are going to flop in 2025. According to their analysis, Indiana's lack of playoff experience is going to come back to bite them, and they're not going to be able to hang with the league's elite teams. Sure, the Fever got swept by the Connecticut Sun in 2024, but let's be real, that was their first playoff appearance in 8 years. Did ESPN expect them to waltz in and start crushing teams with championship experience? No one is saying Indiana's ready to hang a banner in 2025, but to suggest they're going to regress? Come on. What's even more insulting is how ESPN has completely ignored the Fever's offseason potential. Indiana has serious draft capital and plenty of room under the salary cap to make some key acquisitions. Not to mention, they've got a front office that knows what it's doing. Lynn Dunn is one of the sharpest GMs in the league, and with Kelly Krauskopf returning to help guide the franchise, the Fever are in great hands. This is a team that's building something special, and to overlook that is not just careless, it's disrespectful. But ESPN didn't stop there. They also claimed that Caitlin Clark is about to hit a sophomore slump.
Already being in the playoffs or anything like that, I'm just not sure if our energy was quite where it needed to be.
pointing to her struggles in the playoffs as evidence that she's not cut out for the physicality of the WNBA. Are you kidding? Yes, Clark faced some challenges in her first playoff run, but let's not forget that she was playing injured, dealing with a nagging shoulder issue that limited her effectiveness. Even then, she still managed to put up 29 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds in the Fever's final game against Connecticut.
I think it's natural for a megastar to come in and people say, I'm kind of tired of hearing about
It's everything. It's women are catty.
If that's what struggling looks like, then every team in the WNBA wishes they had a player who could struggle like that. And let's not forget the officiating controversy that followed Clark throughout the playoffs. The cheap shots she took, the eye pokes, the blatant no calls. It was like the referees had it out for her. Yet, through all that, Clark kept her composure, showing the kind of mental toughness that separates great players from the rest. But according to ESPN, all that adversity is going to break her. Right. Now, let's talk about the fan reaction, because if you've been on social media lately, you know that Fever Nation is not having it.
It's really inspired me to do whatever I want, and I can do it.
Twitter is exploding with angry responses, with fans calling ESPN out for their blatant disrespect of a team that's worked tirelessly to rebuild. Some are even accusing ESPN of being biased against small market teams, pointing out that the network always seems to favor big market franchises like the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. It's no secret that media coverage can shape public perception, and Fever fans are rightfully upset that their team is being overlooked in favor of the league's more glamorous franchises. But let's be real, this is nothing new. The WNBA has long struggled with biased coverage that tends to downplay the achievements of smaller market teams. Remember when the Seattle Storm were dominating the league and barely got any national attention? Now, it feels like the same thing is happening with Indiana. Caitlin Clark is one of the most marketable players the WNBA has ever seen, and yet ESPN is trying to write off the Fever before the 2025 season even begins. It's almost as if they don't want to see this team succeed. This brings us to the real question. Is ESPN setting the Fever up for failure on purpose? It sounds crazy, but think about it. Controversy sells. By predicting a disastrous season for the Fever, ESPN is creating a narrative that's bound to stir up drama. Fans are going to argue, debate, and tune in just to see whether Indiana can prove ESPN wrong. It's a classic move to generate buzz, and let's be honest, it's working. Fever fans are more fired up than ever, and the team itself is likely using this as fuel to prove the doubters wrong. And let's talk about the broader implications of this. ESPN's prediction isn't just about the Indiana Fever. It's about how we perceive underdog teams in the WNBA. For too long, the league has been dominated by a few big market teams, and the media has done little to highlight the success stories of smaller franchises. The Fever's rise is a classic underdog story, and rather than celebrating it, ESPN is trying to tear it down before it can fully blossom. It's a reminder that in the WNBA, as in all sports, it's not just about what happens on the court. It's about the narratives that get pushed by the media. But here's the thing. Fever fans aren't going to let this slide. They've seen the growth, the potential, and the hard work that's gone into turning this team around, and they're not about to let ESPN or anyone else diminish that. The 2025 season is shaping up to be a pivotal one for the Indiana Fever, and with Caitlin Clark leading the charge, this team is poised to shock the world. Whether or not ESPN is ready to admit it, the Fever are coming for the league's elite, and they're not going to stop until they get the respect they deserve. So ESPN, enjoy your clicks and your controversy while you can. Because when the Fever start racking up wins next season, the only thing you'll be exposed for is how wrong you were. And you can bet that Fever Nation will be there to remind you every step of the way. In the end, this prediction isn't just about one team, it's about the future of the WNBA. If the league is going to continue growing, we need to give credit where it's due. Teams like the Indiana Fever are crucial to the WNBA's success, and dismissing them out of hand only hurts the league in the long run. The Fever have the talent, the coaching, and the fan base to make serious waves in 2025, and no amount of bad predictions can change that. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. For more WNBA topics and updates, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.